Hey guys, my name is Maddie or Books with Maddie, and today we are doing the Anti-TBR tag. So this tag, the Anti-TBR tag, was created by Nicole in her books, and it basically is just going over some books that you're never going to read, some series you're never going to read, things you're not interested in. I find the concept of this tag really interesting, especially like I've been thinking about this a lot recently, like the way that people's reading tastes change. So like over time, obviously our reading tastes change and we have to like adapt to those changes, and I think it's like a really positive thing to like mark out genres and types of books and authors that you don't really want to read because you don't have an interest in, and that way you know that if somebody's hyping up that book or the author comes out with a new book that you're not tempted to pick it up because you know you haven't liked that in the past. I think that's a really positive thing to do. That's not to say that you shouldn't give authors another try and things like that. Like obviously like you do this like as you need to, like whatever works for you, but I think it's like a really interesting concept because a lot of times we get sucked into like reading what everybody else is reading just because they're saying they like it, and then you don't end up always liking the same things everybody else does, things like that. I know I've struggled with that a lot, with not getting tempted to read what everybody else is reading, especially like because there was like a bunch of years where I wasn't reading, and so when I came back to reading I kind of tried to read what everybody else had been reading while I was doing other things, and it didn't really work out for me. I didn't really like a lot of the stuff that everybody else was talking about during those periods. So I think that I'm like, as I'm becoming more well versed in my own reading, I'm figuring out what I like, what I don't like, and things like that. So that was kind of a long-winded intro, but like I just wanted to say that this is not like a negative thing. I'm not trashing these authors or like saying you shouldn't read them or stuff like that, or saying that it's bad to have these books as your favorites or whatever like that. Like I'm just trying to say, like, for me personally, these are the books, series, authors that I don't gravitate towards, and that doesn't also mean that I will never read from them also. So just like disclaimers at the top. Did I say this tag was created by Nicole in her books? I don't know if I already said that, but yes. Amazing video, amazing booktuber. And I also saw Elena do it from Elena the Great. I know a bunch of other people have done it, and I'm planning on going and watching some other people's videos. I'm pretty sure Mayor did it. I find this tag very interesting to see where people's tastes differ and align and are the same and they're different and things like that. So yeah, I just find this really interesting and I hope you enjoy. There are 8/8.5 questions. I have edited them a little bit just to like go better with the format of how I'm doing this. So the only ones like I kind of switched two of them kind of. So the first one is usually a popular book that everyone loves but you have no interest in reading. I just changed it to a popular book or series that everyone loves that you have no interest in reading, and then later that question comes up but I edited that again. So I'll cross that bridge when we get there. So I have my laptop with my notes, so I'm going to be looking down. A popular series or book that everyone loves that you have no interest in reading. I have quite a few. Most of them fall under the same genre. I'll just go through a couple of like the main ones that like I don't really have an interest in reading. The first one is Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. I'm pretty sure my mom has this book, but I really have no interest in reading this. It's kind of like, I've heard some people really enjoy it, some people really don't. It just doesn't seem like something that I would really enjoy. I have her other book, City of Girls, I think that's what it's called, and that seems like something that I will enjoy. Maybe if I really like the rating of that, then I'll read Eat, Pray, Love, but that's just something I don't really have an interest in. Other ones, this is kind of controversial, but The Princess Bride is another one that I don't really have an interest in reading. I've seen the movie and I hated the movie. I saw it like probably 10 years ago and it scared me. Maybe I would have different feelings about it now, but it probably was more than 10 years ago, honestly. So I don't know, but I've never really liked the concept of it. Something about it just like throws me off. I don't know, I have bad traumatic memories of that apparently from my childhood. So I probably won't ever read that, but like who knows? Maybe. Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. I can confidently say I don't think I will ever read Twilight. I have no interest in vampires. I've seen like the first two movies, I think, and they were hilarious. I found them so entertaining in a bad way. Like I was cringing the entire time. So I have literally no interest in ever reading those books. There's like a whole cross-section of like dystopian paranormal books that I will never read, like Hush Hush, the Mara Dyer, whatever that crap is, Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater, Fallen by Lauren Kate, Matched by Ellie Connie, Delirium by Lauren Oliver, Uglies by Scott Westerfield. Like all those books I don't really have an interest in. Host by Stephanie Meyer. Pretty much just check it out, Stephanie Meyer. Oh, I have this one I feel so strongly about. Vampire Academy. I will never read Vampire Academy. I hate the covers. I hate the concept. I hate what I've heard about it. I feel so strongly. I will never read Vampire Academy. And then This is also kind of controversial. I will probably never read The Dark Artifices or Chain of Cold by Cassandra Clare. Those just really don't interest me, so T. So the next question is a classic book or author that you have no interest in reading. I thought about this for a while because I typically like classics and like reading classics from like many different authors and time periods, whatnot. I don't have a lot of control over this as like an English major, the concentration in literature. I don't really know what I'm going to be reading. I'm going to be reading a lot of classics. So this is like ones that I have really no interest in reading, but I might have to read at some point. The three that I could immediately think of were Heart of Darkness. No. Moby Dick by Herman Melville. Goodness no. And Call of the Wild by Jack London. But those three, I don't like. If I had a choice not to read them or to read them, I would choose not to read them. So this is the one where there's like two parts to this question. So the third question is an author whose books you have no interest in reading, and then there's like a subsection to this question, which is a problematic author whose books you have no interest in reading. I'm gonna go over like authors that I don't have interest in reading. I don't know if they're problematic or not. I've never heard that these people are problematic, but who knows. So the ones that I have no interest in reading are Morgan Matson, Libba Bray, and Casey West. They all kind of fit under the same category of just like, I mean, maybe not Libba Bray. I don't really know what Libba Bray writes, but I've never seen a book of hers and been like, I want to read that. I feel so bad. This feels mean. Am I being mean? I don't mean to be mean. I'm just saying like those three authors, like especially Casey West and Morgan Matson, they write kind of the same books. I don't have an interest in those kind of books. And then Libba Bray, I've just never really had an interest in her books. LJ Shen, just no interest in that. Stephanie Meyer, but we've already kind of covered that. I don't know if she's problematic though. I put her like in between because like I don't really know. I've heard something and then I don't know. And the problematic authors that I really don't have an interest in reading, George R.R. Martin. I have no interest in Game of Thrones. I watched like maybe the first season and I hated it so much. It was terrible. I liked Amelia Clark. She played the dragon lady, I don't know. But that was the only character I liked, and everybody else I hated. It was terrible. I don't know why I watched a whole season of it. I really didn't like it, strongly. So I have no interest in reading the books. I've heard the areas in which I hated of the TV show are amplified in the books. So I really have no interest in that. Rainbow Rowell, problematic. And then obviously J.K. Rowling / Robert Galbraith. I'm gonna like finish the Harry Potter series, but that's like, anything else, no. No. The fourth question is an author you have read a couple books from and have decided their books are not for you. Because I'm fairly new to like reading recently, you know what I mean? I haven't read a lot of like separate collections of authors' works. So like if it's a series, then I've probably read that series, but I haven't read much else. Or like if it's a standalone, I probably have only read the standalone from the author and nothing else. There are very few authors that I've read like many things from to make a judgment like this, but I have a couple answers that are just like pretty clear to me that I probably will never pick up from them again. The first one is Jenny Han. So she wrote the To All the Boys I Loved Before series. I read the first book in that. It was okay. I have the two others and I do plan on reading them at some point, but she's just somebody I probably wouldn't pick up again just because that isn't like my preferred genre. And then another, I guess this is an author pairing. I don't know if they write separately, but Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll, they wrote Beautiful Creatures. No, I have no interest in that. And then I have Cassandra Clare on this. I read The Mortal Instruments. I didn't really like it. I liked the third book and the last book, but other than that, I have no interest in going back to the Shadowhunter world. However, I was convinced to read the Infernal Devices, which I haven't yet. I own the first two books. Once I get the third, I'm gonna read them all in rapid fashion. I know what happens at the end. I already know. Book Twitter spoiled it for me. So like, I already know what's gonna happen, but because it's apparently historical fiction, I'm supposed to read it. So I'm going to read the Infernal Devices, but after that, I don't really have an interest in going back unless, I don't know, something changes in me when I read this, but Cassandra Clare is probably an author that I'm not really going to gravitate towards in the future. Question 5 is a genre you have no interest in or a genre you tried to get into and couldn't. I have 3 answers for this, honestly, and I feel very strongly about all of them. The first one is mystery, and this is different. This is not mystery and thriller. This is specifically mystery, like hardcore mystery. I've tried a couple, like, especially whodunit, I don't like. Basically, the way I describe mystery is slow burn thriller. It's like a thriller, but at a very slow pace. Like, I don't want that. I don't like when they have to go through all the clues and like, I just want you to tell me what happened, explain to me the mystery, and then tell me you did it. I don't care about this process of like, who did it? Like, I don't care. I really don't, and I'm sorry. I feel really bad that I have no interest in this because I feel like there's a lot of books that are really cool, like The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I read that and I was like, this is such a cool book, but I gave it 2 stars because I just don't have an interest in that. I don't like that whodunit concept of like, I don't know, it just feels like a slow burn thriller, and I don't even read a lot of thrillers to begin with, so like to have a thriller slow down for me is just not it. The second one is YA contemporary romance. This is a genre I've tried quite a bit. I cannot ever get into it in like a solid way. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say I don't like it. Everyone reads exactly the same to me. I feel like it follows the same general arc, and then you just change the name to a different white girl, and like it's never really for me. I never find it very moving or entertaining. Also, the genre seems to be dominated by middle-aged white women. There are a lot of really diverse YA contemporary romances, but it seems to be dominated by this one demographic that writes the same books over and over again. If I am going to reach for that genre, I usually try to reach for an author of color. That's why it's kind of like YA contemporary romance with an asterisk. Like, if they have a deeper message, if they have something that I can become educated from, like commentary on race or like LGBTQ characters, things like that, I'm more likely to pick those up. And then the last one is the one I feel the most strongly about, is paranormal /paranormal romance / anything with vampires / no. I do not like anything paranormal books, and I have an interesting, complicated history in which I usually end up hating them. Now, the definition of paranormal stretches quite broadly, and there are areas of paranormal that I don't mind. Like, for example, the Raven cycle could be considered paranormal, and I didn't mind that. Same with, like, certain witchy books. I don't mind witchiness. What I do mind, however, is vampires and angel-demon dynamics. I can't get into that. It makes me cringe. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Something about the concept of vampires I'm not okay with. Maybe it's just specifically vampires for me. I don't like... Yeah, that's all I have to say. Like, for example, Beautiful Creatures, no. Twilight, no. Vampire Academy, no. What was the other one that I recently read? Oh, Discovery of Witches, freaking vampires, no. I have a problem with vampires, and I'm sorry. But that's, maybe paranormal also, okay, wait, any paranormal romance, pretty much, if you give me a paranormal romance, I'm probably going to give it between 1 and 2 stars. It always falls into the same tropes, the same dichotomies that are in every single paranormal romance book ever, and it's always exactly the same, and I can't, no. And it's always tropes I don't like. It's always toxic men. Oh, no, I can't do it. Okay. Whew, that was a long one, sorry. I felt very strongly. Okay, question number 6 is a book you've bought but will never read. I like to say that I will read all of the books on my shelf, but there are 3 that I'm like, maybe I will never read these. The first one that I could think of was, okay, this is Women in Society. It's a, why can't I say the word? No, that's not the word I'm looking for. A collection, oh my gosh. A collection of interdisciplinary essays. And this is from Cambridge, I believe. It was published in 1981? Around 1970s, 1980s. And I picked this up at a thrift store because I found it really interesting. I am studying women and gender studies in college, so I thought it would be really interesting to see how the feminist discourses occurred back in the 1970s and 80s versus how they occur today in my classes. I thought that would be really interesting, but it's just so scary. Like, this is so intimidating to me. I would really like to read these essays, but I would probably read them one at a time, not all at once. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but that is one that I've had for a while and I've never really made an effort to pick it up. The other one is Cuckoo Song by Frances Hardinge. I bought this like probably almost 2 years ago, and it's something that I never would have picked up now. But I don't even know what it's about. I think it's horror. I'm not really sure. And I bought it for some reason at a thrift store, and I have no interest in it. But I'm like, what if it's really good? So I don't like unhaul it, but like, I want to. but I can't. But like, what if it's really good? You know what I mean? So I don't know. The cover is awful and I hate it, but I can't get rid of it, but I probably will never read it. The last one I could think of is kind of not really true. Okay, I just realized I never put Cheech Billin up, and I made him a scarf and everything. It's actually a sock. It's technically a sock, but it's a scarf. It has little Halloween cats on it. So he's gonna sit right here. Okay, so the third one is A Little Life. This is a book that I bought, and I don't know why. This book terrifies me. I get so emotional over books. I cry over everything when it comes to books. I get so emotionally distraught for books. I have a shelf on Goodreads of all of the books that I've cried over. It's ridiculous. It's extensive, and I cry over literally everything, the smallest thing, and I don't know why. And so you can imagine that this breaks the hardest of hearts, and I have a freaking weak, soft heart that will be broken by this. However, it is my bomb book. So if you don't watch my deck of TBR videos, I use a deck of cards to choose what books I'm going to read the month. And I have one joker in my deck of cards. If I pick that joker, then I have to read my bomb book, which is currently A Little Life. It's a book that I'm very terrified of reading, and currently this holds that position of the book I am the most scared to read. Technically, this is a book that I will read, that I own eventually, hopefully not soon. Hopefully when I'm more emotionally stable. But who knows? Deck of TBR has been screwing with us the past couple months. So who knows? Next question. This is the one that I edited. So it used to be a series you have no interest in reading or a series you have started and DNF'd, but I did the series at the beginning, the books that I didn't want to read. So this one is just a series you have started and you DNF'd. I'm really weird about series. Like, if I start it, I'm pretty much guaranteed to finish it, even if I don't like it. Because I feel like it feels incomplete to have not finished a series. I don't know why, I can't leave a series unfinished. So even if, like, I will buy an entire series, even if I don't know if I'm gonna like the first book, because I just have to finish them. So it is very rare for me to pick up a series and then not end up finishing it. But there are two that I could think of that I'm pretty sure I'm not going to continue with. The first one I'm like 99% sure about, and it's Beautiful Creatures. I talked about this one earlier. I have no interest in continuing with the series. Brittany and I read this for our book club, and neither of us liked it. This is something that is not obviously a genre I enjoy, and unless something very crazy happens to my reading taste, I will not be continuing with this series. The other one is more recent, so it is A Discovery of Riches by Deborah Harkness. I just talked about this book in my previous video because I read this in September, and so I talked about it in my wrap-up. And I said that I might continue with this series. This one is kind of more of a question mark. I'm not really sure. I didn't really enjoy it, especially because it was nearly 600 pages of just like things I didn't enjoy. I'm not really keen to pick up the next one and go through all of this again, especially because I didn't like most of the characters. I am interested, like the second book takes place in a historical time period, so that is kind of tempting for me. I don't know. So it's kind of up in the air right now. If I do continue with the series, like I said in my wrap-up, it won't be anytime soon. So who knows, maybe something will change and I'll pick up the next one in next year or something. But as of right now, I'm taking a break from the series and putting it on hold. And then the last question is a new release that you have no interest in reading. This one is hard. I feel like I'm not very caught up with new releases a lot of the time. I feel like I don't know all the new, especially ones that I don't like. I usually gravitate towards books that I would like, that like I remember new releases that are coming out if I want to read them, but not if I don't want to read them. So this was kind of a struggle for me. The first one that I could think of was like the Chain of Gold series by Cassandra Clare. I think she's coming out with like new one for that or whatever. I don't know. I just don't really have an interest in reading those. I talked about earlier, just like I don't really like Cassandra Clare or the Shadowhunters world. The other one that I put down, I don't know why this one randomly popped into my head, but Maggie Stiefvater's coming out with a new book called Swamp Thing. And like a lot of people are talking about it. I don't really have an interest in reading that, so I don't know. That was like, for some reason that one popped in my head. It's pretty random. And any coronavirus erotica. There's a lot of coronavirus erotica going around the book community right now. Mostly memes, luckily. I don't think anybody actually wants to read that, but I just wanted to be clear. Just lay my intentions bare for you. I do not want to read coronavirus erotica. Any authors, if you're watching and if you're thinking about making coronavirus erotica, here is a sign for you. Do not Nobody wants to read that. The last one that I could think of was Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer, but we've already established that I will not read Twilight or Stephanie Meyer, so I just added that in because that was the only one I could think of. But yeah, so I think that is it. I hope I didn't like drastically offend anybody. Obviously this is my personal taste, and if you like any of the things that I mentioned, like don't be like I encourage you to read what you want to read. Like don't take this as like me being like, ew, your reading tastes suck. No, this is my personal problems and preferences. So you read what you want to read, I'm gonna read what I want to read. No tea, no shade. This is simply a display of my reading taste, and I encourage you to kind of do this with yourself, even if you don't have like a booktube channel or a blog or anything. If you do, you should totally do this, and I would totally watch it. But I encourage you to like kind of solidify your reading taste, so you're reading and spending your money where you feel you will enjoy what you're reading. Does that make sense? I'm having a really hard time like expressing what I'm trying to say today. I don't know why, but yeah, so basically what I'm trying to say is read what you want to read. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will link some below that I've watched and that I'm going to watch and that I found really interesting. I'll link the original down below. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week. I hope you have a great life. I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.